Thanks so much, everybody, for inviting. I wish it was more a physical meeting, but obviously being in South Africa, I think we're the last people you want on our shores at the moment. So I'd like to, I call it an online evolution, but this is actually very much a snapshot because we've obviously got limited time. But please feel free, guys, if you want the reports. This information has come from numerous reports. If you want us to share it with you, not a problem. Just ping me directly and I can share it with you. Cool. So in terms of global internet, last year we kind of saw the bandwidth rise by 35%. Of this, Africa experienced the most rapid growth in international internet bandwidth, growing at a compound annual rate of 47% between 2016 and 2020. On the mobile side, there has been continued acceleration in mobile broadband coverage as operators upgrade from existing 2G sites to 3G and 4G. And we've actually, since last year, had an introduction of 5G technologies coming into Africa. 2019 marked the first year that there were more mobile broadband connections than 2G, as consumers are benefiting from more affordable smartphones and smart feature phones. There is still, however, a large gender gap and rural-urban gap in mobile internet use, standing at about 37% on the gender gap and 60% on the rural-urban gap. And the biggest driver for this is actually on the barrier around mobile internet adoption has been the lack of digital skills that we still see in Africa. The one that I'm quite excited and pretty much passionate about in terms of Africa is around our last mile investment. And the pandemic hasn't seemed to inhibit these kinds of investments in terrestrial fiber networks. There have been three notable trends this last year. The first is increasing regionalization and cross-border fiber. Large operators like Orange and their Djibouti regional fiber network in West Africa are recognizing the benefits of infrastructure that they can span from multiple markets. The second trend to note is the increasing focus of the Dig-Once policy that leverages current rail infrastructure and road infrastructure that's in place. And then the last one, which I think is more, I suppose, a local frustration, is the underutilization of these fiber infrastructure, this fiber infrastructure that's already in play, where you'll see current organizations treating this as kind of a revenue earner rather than something that can boost entire economies. On the submarine cable side, 37 out of 38 African countries on the seashores also have at least one submarine cable landing station, while countries with direct interconnection to submarine cables enjoy benefits of high-speed internet, such as higher internet use and higher employment numbers. Africa's 16 landlocked countries are still left to rely on wireless substitutes, which don't work as well. Africa's lack of terrestrial fiber is holding back a number of the continent's economic developments, but building such a network also comes at quite a cost and a lot of challenges. I'm sure a couple of you have seen some interesting videos of laying fiber in Africa and the challenges that comes with it, but also the costs. So what we've seen is the costs literally are between anything to lay a fiber optic cable per kilometer is generally between $15,000 and $30,000. So it's still incredibly high to actually lay that fiber in Africa. However, we have seen a huge amount of improvements in fiber infrastructure front, such as the access to infrastructure has been expanding and improving, underpinning by improving national long haul and metro backhaul infrastructure. Pricing of fiber-based products is starting to come at a reduction, making it more affordable for all us Africans. There's been a huge amount of economic improvements, not all markets. Obviously, you guys see stuff on the news, but however, this has actually created a improved business climate and demand for fiber-based services. Government policies are starting to support national fiber rollouts and digital agendas. So South Africa has just actually put down recently, last week, our president did an announcement where they want to try and mandate this digital growth. which is fantastic from a government support perspective. And then we're also seeing a huge amount of content and content investment. It's been happening over the years. And thank you to the many of the LINX members to do that, because without this content investment, I think a number of Africans would have been offline during this pandemic. So it's amazing that we can even have this call at the moment. So, I mean, one of the challenges absolutely is right now we're seeing the huge amount of fiber investment happening within the urban and the coastal towns, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on the secondary cities, where there's a huge gap around that, even in South Africa, which is one of the more developed countries. And we're hoping that these investments will continue from the fiber perspective. In terms of data center, the data center boom is underway. I don't know if any of you have seen some of our articles that have gone out as Teraco, but not just from a Teraco perspective. There's loads of facilities happening around your Nigeria, your Kenya, and your Morocco. But there's still a whole bunch of work that needs to be happened there. So if you account for the full facilities, there's less than 1% of the world's data center capacity sits in Africa. So generally in Africa, we're sitting at about 200 megawatts as of the last year. On the subsea cable side, so an interesting article that I actually read through, which sometimes I even forget to think about, is 37 countries with direct submarine land ports. 9 countries only have a single submarine cable connecting that country, while the other 8 have a mere 2. So if any sort of thing had to happen with that cable, be it a stray anchor causing a small tear or any sort of strange scheduled maintenance, it can leave those countries actually without internet for prolonged periods of time. So we're very excited, and I'm not sure if any of you have seen this, the developments around the Aquano cable and the 2Africa cable. A lot of these are going to bring a whole bunch of more capacity to Africa, as well as I think a lot more stability, because there'll be choice of multiple cable operators, keeping those shore countries alive and going. On the public cloud front, so that's been incredibly exciting over the last sort of 2 years, but especially last year. So Microsoft and Amazon have made their investments for their first cloud regions into South Africa. And we've heard many more are going to be announcing their investments in Africa, which we'll see go live this year and next year. And we like to use this map because I know sometimes when you're looking at your strategies, you're kind of going, where do I start? You know, this Africa is massive with a huge population and huge amounts of demand and requirements. So the way we kind of split Africa out at the moment is we look at South Africa, which generally services that Southern African region. Then we look at Kenya, which services the East African region. And then we look at Nigeria, which services the West African region. And then if you look at the north, there's not really much happening there. There's a lot of work that is starting to happen, but we're seeing a lot of the North African traffic essentially going via Marseille to service those regions. So I suppose why? I mean, there's always a business case to any kind of deployment and infrastructure build out. But if you have a look at our top 250 companies in Africa, make up a large portion of Africa's GDP. So with latency and data sovereignty requirements, these large organizations are required to connect locally in Africa versus what they would generally do within a European environment. So we wanted to actually test in terms of what does it mean to have a local region. So we turned up some resources into, funny enough, this was Microsoft's cloud when they went live, and it did make a difference on latency. So before, when we had resources sitting in, let's say, the West European area, we were sitting at about 171 milliseconds, and that was coming from Cape Town. Going down to, then we turned up one in the Johannesburg region, and we were kind of sitting at less than 2 milliseconds in terms of latency. So it really does make a difference with these cloud investments coming into Africa. Cloud exchanges. So yes, this is the new world for any IX, and I must say it is an adventure, but it has been a fantastic initiative that we've done on Teraco and NAPAfrica's side, where we've seen with Microsoft and Amazon being the first connections that we've gone live with. Both of these have seen a huge positive response from a market perspective, especially with the pandemic being a driver for early adoption in Africa. And the key reasons around why that has been a driver in Africa has been there's a huge capex strain. So for us to pay in euros and dollars, I mean, if you look, just take an example of the South African rand versus a euro or a pound, I mean, we're paying 20 times more essentially. So as well as lack of skilled resources within the African environment has then allowed people to kind of leapfrog and move into these cloud regions. So we've seen a growth of 48% on our cloud connections in the 2020, and we foresee 2021 actually probably doubling due to more cloud investment happening in the region. And then from an IXP perspective, we haven't stopped. I sort of say to all of you, if you really want to join a great online event, there's the AFPIF. They're running the virtual peering series at the moment. And it's fantastic to see the amount of interaction that's happening across Africa rather than, and multiple countries rather than sort of single country focus. And this has been driven by the Internet Society. So, and they've got sort of a goal that they set down in 2020 called the 80 for Africa, which is essentially the intercontinental internet traffic. They want to try and be able to promote that Africa routes stay in Africa rather than transversing out of the continent back in again. And sort of we've seen this kind of happen over the last couple of years. And the example that I'd like to give before giving the NAP one was essentially Kenya. So if you look at Kenya and Nigeria's traffic in 2012, it reported that under a third of the traffic was actually happening locally within those markets, and now it's sitting at about 70%. On NAPAfrica's side, as a tangible example within South Africa, we kind of saw, now we're sitting at 1.6 terabits of peering traffic versus 5 years ago where we were only sitting at a gig. And you can see how much that the combination of infrastructure investment, content investment, users coming online is really starting to have an impact around how this traffic is routed locally within the continent. So it looks great, as Forbes magazine likes to say, that we're the next frontier, but still a lot of work to be done around that, and with your help and continued help, especially with our friends at LINX, it's fantastic. There's a lot of connectivity improvements that needs to happen. Another key thing that needs to start looking at is how we drive down cost of devices. So even though there's a huge amount of coverage and people have access or could easily have access to get internet access, that device is still a big portion of where we're not able to get users online. And we hope to see a lot of that drive down in the next couple of years, and help grow the actual continent itself.